All right, so I'll give praise, esteem, and honor to the Most High, Yah, in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach this day. Let's get this John 5 and 39. Search the scriptures for in them you think you have eternal life, and they are they which testify of me. And you will not come to me, that you might have life. I receive not honor from men, but I know you, that you have the love of Elohim in you. I come in my Abba's name, and you receive me not. If another shall come in his own name, him you will receive. How can you believe but receive honor one from another and seek not the honor that comes from Elohim only? Do not think that I will accuse you. To Abba there is one that accused you, even Moses, of whom you trust. If I had to believe Moses, you would have believed me, for he wrote of me. But if you believe not his writings, how should you believe my words? Back to Proverbs chapter 9. We still picking up at verse 13. We'll be working in reverse because we still have to deal with things that are in verses 13 to 18. So a foolish woman is clamorous. She's simple and she knows nothing. So again, we're looking at the word clamorous. So we'll come back and focus on that. Still looking at the things that pertain to idolatry at the same time. When we're looking at clamorous is hama, to murmur, to growl, to roar, to cry aloud, to mourn, to rage, sound, to make noise, to be torment, to be clamorous, to be disquieted, loud, moved, troubled, to be in an uproar, to be boisterous, to be turbulent, to be in a stir, to be in a commotion. Let's see what the English definition of clamorous is. On top of that, to see, does it even go along with what they chosen to use? Not chosen, but chosen to use. So this is states that individual is vociferous, implies a vehement shouting or calling out. Someone who's mean. It says it in that definition. Let's look at it in regular definition. Same token. So let's look at a woman who will be considered to be a clamorous woman. God, come over here to First Kings. I want to say First Kings 18. It might be 17. And we'll look at Jezebel as an example of this said foolish woman who knows absolutely nothing. And it allows us to roll in because you know that Jezebel was a Baal worshiper. So that works out this to keep the continuity of what we got going on. First Kings 17, what I wanted though. Hold on, man. Let me see. I'm gonna say because I need that light cut off in these days and times. That's what this phone like to do. No, it's First Kings 18, I suppose that I'll use. First Kings chapter 18 and verse 1. It says, it came to pass after many days that the word of Yahuwah came to Elijah in the third year, saying, go show yourself unto Ahab, and I will send rain upon the earth. Elijah went to show himself unto Ahab. There was a sore famine in Samaria. Ahab called Obadiah, which was the governor of his house. Now Obadiah feared Yahuwah greatly. For it was so when Jezebel cut off the prophets of Yahuwah, that Obadiah took 100 prophets and hid them by 50 in a cave and fed them with bread and water. So at this particular juncture, we see how Jezebel was actually killing the prophets of Yahuwah. So we have to understand, why was she killing the prophets of Yahuwah? Because she was a Baal worshiper. So we in the chat individuals, we were discussing the particular matter, and it just came up. Come over here to First Kings 16 and about 16 and about 25 used. These things are used 16 and 29. First Kings 16 and 20. These things are used in more of a more heightened state in this particular time period because less and less people actually follow the scriptures, regardless if they're following correct doctrine or not. And it's now more acceptable to participate in these pagan rites than it was even 20 years ago, even 10 years ago, to do it in the open. This goes back to what we were discussing last week about all the effects of programming. That people have been programmed. You've been programmed to think a particular type of way. You've been programmed to view the world in a particular type of way. You've been programmed to think in a particular type of way. You know what I'm saying? And when you sit back and you understand that and you realize that, then you can understand to see the gradual, steady movements to the things that people are doing. People fooling with tarot cards. You know, people are always fooled with Ouija boards. You know, Bone had a song called Ouija, Are You With Me? You know what I'm saying? Or Mr. Ouija, I should say, was the name of the song. The song was named Mo Murder. No, there was an interlude where they sung Ouija, Are You With Me? Mo Murder, Mo Murder. These are the things. It was 1995. You know what I'm saying? So these are not new occurrences. They're not new occurrences at all. And most individuals, as I mentioned in the chat, most individuals who fool with these type of things is because they have no peace. The word is designed to destroy chaos. And we'll read the verse, but the book tell you that there is no peace to the wicked. So the wicked will always have chaos and they can never have peace. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't because it's not designed for them to have that. Nevertheless, 16 and 29. And in the 30, this is 1 Kings 16 and 29. And in the 38th year of Asa, king of Jehudah, began Ahab, son of Omri, to reign over Yasharal. Ahab, the son of Omri, reigned over Yasharal in Samaria 22 years. Ahab, the son of Omri, did evil in the sight of Yahuwah above all that were before him. And it came to pass, as if he had been a light thing for him to walk in the sins of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, that he took to wife Jezebel, the daughter of Ethbaal, king of the Zidonians, and went and served Baal and worshipped him. And he reared up an altar for Baal in the house of Baal, which he had built in Samaria. Ahab made a grove, and Ahab did more to provoke Yahuwah Elohim of Yasharal to anger than all the kings of Yasharal that were before him. So if he went and made a grove, you know he went and made an Asherah pole. So you know that he was sitting around participating in goddess worship with this woman, on top of the fact of sitting around worshiping Baal with this woman. This is one of the instances why the text tells you it's to the men explicitly not to give your strength over to a woman. I seen a brother today say you ought to be, other day say you ought to be weak with your woman. And so you know, showing vulnerability and being weak is two different things, but you can't give your strength to a woman, regardless of what the world tell you. Your God told you not to do that. Now, the Jezebel name literally means that Baal exalts, and Baal is a husband to, or that she is unchaste. That this is an unchaste woman. This is a whore. Do you know what I'm saying? This is a whore. Her name literally means to be a whore. And now look at these things, and we're going to look at the word provoke. Well, it doesn't even have that there. It just says, and did more to Yahuwah. Don't even say provoke. But again, you got grove, you got the Asherah pole. This is what he has done. This is what's going on with this foolish, clamorous woman, because she was definitely a very loud and boisterous and evil individual. Look at 1 Kings 19, and let's look at what she says after she has her encounter, having an encounter with Elijah, after Elijah has slaughtered and slayed all the prophets of Baal with a sword. The same way I say Yahushua will return and slay everyone with the sword that comes out of his mouth. Matter of fact, before we even read 1 Kings, let's go to the book of Revelation real fast. Chapter 2. You should know what it is. Just a little split second thing that's said about Jezebel. Revelation 2 and 18 is the location. He said unto the angel in the house of Theatra, write, these things saith the Elohim, who have his eyes like unto a flame of fire and his feet are like fine brass. I know your works in charity and service and faith and your patience and your works, and the last to be more than the first. Notwithstanding, I have a few things against you, because you have suffered that woman Jezebel, which called herself a prophetess, to teach and to seduce my servants to commit fornication and to eat things sacrificed unto idols. I gave her space to repent of her fornication. She repented not. Behold, I will cast her into a bed, and them that commit adultery with her in the great tribulation, except they repent of their deeds. And I will kill her children with death. And all the houses shall know that I am he which search the reins and the hearts. And I will give unto you every one according to your words. Now, we didn't talk about this before, but it's going to be a reiteration. So you see that Jezebel, she's seducing the people of Elohim to commit fornication and eat things that have been offered up unto idols. See, I was looking at something the other day from a historical aspect, and now it's escaping my mind. And I had pinpointed it too, and I needed to go back and look at it again. But in regards to the tradition of eating ham on Christmas, if you just go do your research a little bit, it'll come to my mind after I'm done. Y'all willing to, when I get a chance to go back and look at it again, because it was something that I just learned for the first time. So it's probably why it's escaping my mind, because I don't have that strong of a grasp on it at this particular juncture. But just so if you sit back and you look at the tradition of where the pagan rites come from eating ham on Christmas, you'll be disgusted. Like a lot of the foods that people got going on, just like we were just talking about, like July 4th, Midsummer's Eve. It's a part of the weeping of Tammuz, which is something we're going to look at tonight. You know what I'm saying? But I'm working my way to it, which is why you see Baal and Asherah together, because it would be no different than Semiramis and Nimrod. You know what I'm saying? Or Semiramis and Tammuz, or well, I shouldn't say Semiramis and Tammuz. I should say Astarte and Tammuz, or Ashtaroth and Tammuz, the Queen of Heaven and her son / husband. You know what I'm saying? See, most of us don't even realize how much you've been programmed with the things that these people got going on. You know, Astarte was the goddess of sex, goddess of lust, and things of this nature. Tammuz, which we'll be reading about him shortly, y'all will, just give me a moment, is a quote unquote Mashiach archetype. Now, see, I learned about all of these things before I got in the Word. Matter of fact, as it's coming to my mind, I first ran into some of this information. I ain't gonna say first, but started to delve into it more in depthly when I read the book, The Secret of All Ages, by a British man by the name of David Icke, who is nothing but an agent provocateur, a man who sent forth to put out misinformation and to confuse people greatly, because that's all he does. He put a little bit of truth out there, just like the devil will do. And then he gonna put some lies out there mixed with it, have you confused. But it named a bunch of people whose stories were supposed to be like Jesus. And it was Bacchus and Thor and Dionysus and Hercules, Horus, and Tammuz was one of them as well. So, of course, you know, once I actually was shown the gospel, I seen that these stories were not the same in any shape, form, or fashion. But they take little baseline things and put them on there. The adversary is banking on the fact that you won't know the gospel. Therefore, he can sneak these things in to deceive you, and that you will receive them wholeheartedly to your own destruction. This is one of the reasons why from the beginning that Yahuwah, by way of Yahushua, has allowed me to utter his word, that I have emphasized the vast importance of the gospel and how important it is. You know what I'm saying? Because it will not allow you to be deceived. Because at the end of the day, you're not going to be deceived by should you keep the law or not. You're not going to be deceived by are people righteous or evil or not. You're going to be deceived by an individual who's going to mimic the son of the living Elohim as closely as possible. And if you only know baseline information of your Savior, then you will be deceived and you will follow him. And you will follow him to your own destruction. You know what I'm saying? And that's just what it is. If you know your Savior, then you know full well that you will not be deceived. And you very well may die in the midst of standing up to defend that. And you have to be ready and prepared for that. Ezekiel, the 13th chapter, though, to tie into what we're looking at with this bald-headed hoe, whose name is Jezebel. See, a lot of individuals take Jezebel to be a whore, but we talked about this before. Jezebel is not described in the text as being a whore. You know what I'm saying? In the sense of being a promiscuous woman or being a harlot. She's a foolish woman. She's a clamorous woman. She don't know nothing. She's loud. She's belligerent. She's turbulent. She came to cause confusion. This is what she came to do. Cause confusion. This was her objective. This is what she has done. Ezekiel 13 and 17. Likewise, you son of man, set your face against the daughters of your people, which prophesy out of your own heart, and prophecy against him. And say, thus saith Yahuwah Elohim, destruction to the women that sew pillows to all armholes, and make kerchiefs upon the head of every statue to hunt souls. Will you hunt the souls of my people, and will you save the soul alive that come unto you? Will you pollute me among my people for handfuls of barley and for pieces of bread? To slay the souls that should not die, and to save the souls alive that should not live, by your lying to my people that hear your lies. Well, when you see a lot of point, and this goes in this particular juncture, a lot of brothers don't like to hear it because a lot of niggas are simps. You know what I'm saying? A woman ain't got no business teaching nobody no word. I couldn't even understand how, as a man, you would want a woman to teach you the word. Because at that particular juncture, you're not even functioning in manhood. Y'all know what the law say. Adam was first formed, and then Eve. And Adam taught Eve. Teaching is a form of leadership and guidance. So you mean to tell me as a grown man, you need a woman to lead and guide you? You need a woman to moderate your conduct and your behavior and tell you when to go and how to go? How does that even make any sense? You know what I'm saying? And no real woman will tell you that she will want to be able to have to do that for a man, to guide him and to teach him. You know what I'm saying? To discipline him. They say that junk, but they say that any woman who says that and wants that is a woman who gets off the pot because she has penis image. She wants to be a man. So she gets the thrill of belittling this man. You know what I'm saying? Breaking him down. That brings her joy, because she can rule over him. But Yahuwah is letting it be known that these women are slaying souls that shouldn't die. They're killing the righteous. We're about to read that because that's what Jezebel was doing. But they keeping people alive that shouldn't die, and they telling lies. This thing is said, wherefore thus saith Yahuwah Elohim, behold, I'm against your pillows. Well, if you hear to hunt souls, to make them fly, I will tear them from your arms, and I will let the souls go, even the souls that you hunt, to make them fly. Your kerchiefs also will I tear, and deliver my people out of your hand, and they shall no more be in your hand to be hunted. You shall know that I am Yahuwah. Because with lies you have made the heart of the righteous sad, whom I have not made sad, and strengthened the hands of the wicked, that he should not return from his wicked way by promising him life. But that's what a lot of these bald-headed hoes, i.e. goddesses, are out here doing. They're promising life to people who Yahuwah has not promised this to. They're not telling these people to turn from their wicked way because they have no desire to turn from theirs. So they can tell you that you can participate in all manner of perversity and debauchery, and that Yahuwah will accept you. Nevertheless, therefore you shall see no more vanity nor divine divinations, for I will deliver my people out of your hand, and you shall know that I am Yahuwah. So let's take a trip back to 1 Kings. 1 Kings 19. And we're going to get to how stolen water, stolen bread is pleasant, and stolen water is however it is, because I know I'm saying it wrong. I look at it real quick. Tell you how stolen waters are sweet, bread eaten in secret are pleasant. See, because this goes to the individual who was fooling with this bald-headed hoe. So you can't fool with these bald-headed hoes, man. That's why he keep telling you don't give your strength to no woman. See, a lot of individuals will take that the wrong way, but you're not supposed to give your power to a woman. And you've shown that with Samson and Delilah. You don't give your power to a woman. That's just something that you just don't do. That's not what I said you shouldn't do. That's what your God said you shouldn't do. And we'll read it for you if you think that I'm just saying, but that's what your God said you shouldn't do. Your Elohim says you should not do that. Your power says, young man, do not do that. Of course, it sounds foreign because we live in a society and a culture here in the United States of America that tells a man that he ought to do that. I just seen a man today say black women are the best entrepreneurs in the country. A woman say that women are the best planners, the best business people, the best leaders. And I'm like, is you niggas getting this from? Like, what are you basing that off of? Because if we look at the state of our people, and our people for the most part have been headed by women, we can see that that is absolutely incorrect. And that is a purely asinine statement to even utter out of your mouth. You know what I'm saying? Like, all you have to do is look at our people. If the women have been the ones heading the people, then clearly they are incapable of doing so. You know what I'm saying? The facts bear this out. It's not a personal opinion. You know what I'm saying? You can't sit back and be led by emotional creatures and expect to attain greatness. That doesn't make any sense. Because she's going to lead based off how she feels at any given moment. That's not wisdom. That's not wise. And why would we want as a people to be led in that direction? But of course, certain things are skewed and certain things are not mentioned and taken into play. I remember, and it brought to my memory, based off a statement that was made. I remember reading an article talking about, how it says, more black women are in college than black men. That's mainly just because a lot of black men are not going. They're going instead to get trades or start their own businesses. They're choosing not to go to college, not because they're not intelligent enough to make it, just making a conscious decision not to go. You know what I'm saying? Some don't want to deal with the debt that is associated with college. And I heard a brother refer to it today in a very accurate sense that a college campus is nothing other than a grove or Asherah pole, a place, a witch coven that is made for the specific purpose to turn you into a pansexual and an atheist. You know what I'm saying? And when you sit back and think about it, why would you take your 18-year-old child and send them off for 4 years without direct supervision into the hand of your oppressors and to be surrounded by other individuals who have the same amount of maturity as they do and say you should have this experience? Why were we simple enough to believe that? You know what I'm saying? That you should have the experience of living away from your parents when you're completely and totally unprepared to be away from that stewardship and moderation. You don't have the mental, emotional, and spiritual capacities to handle such a thing and send you off to a people who hate you to be indoctrinated with their pagan ritualistic programming. And say that that's a beautiful thing and encourage other people to do it. Do you see how stupid we are? And not just black people, but people as a whole, that we've allowed a group of people to program us and engineer us to say that I ought to pay to send my child, go into debt to send my child to be ritualistically programmed. You know what I'm saying? Then you sit there and think about it. It's not even about the education and what they're teaching you. Put that to the side as far as the degrees. They're sending you to be programmed to be an atheist. And isn't it funny that it says that more millennials are now dealing with astrology and crystals more than organized religion? That means that's a lot of people that's in your age range. Nigga, where did you think the spark came from? You know what I'm saying? And that was a gradual process, because guess what? Go back to the 70s. They was getting high and getting freaky on these campuses. And that's when they probably started introducing this stuff. It was probably in the 50s, late 50s, early 60s, to get it to the point where it is now, where you have 21-year-old kids wanting to play with tarot cards and walk around with chakra stones and crystals. And niggas send their children to this and pay for it. Send them to the Asherah Grove. Ahab didn't even have to make one. They made one and you paid to go for it. You sit back and you look at that. You pay to become a pagan ritualistic worshiper, unbeknownst to you. That's sad. That's sad, the games they play. And that we're not aware or cognizant of it. But thanks be to y'all that we're aware of it now. Better late than never. 1 Kings 19:1. Ahab told Jezebel all that Elijah had done, with all how he had slain the prophets with the sword. Then Jezebel sent a messenger unto Elijah, saying, so let the gods do to me and more also, if I not make not your life as the life of one of them by tomorrow about this time. Let's take a look at something in the future of where this nigga would be, Jezebel would be representative of someone who would be just as angry. So let's take a look at Revelation 19. And we're just dealing with the fact that Jezebel was a Baal worshiper, but not only a Baal worshiper, but you've seen that Ahab also made a grove for Asherah. So when you look at Asherah and you look at what his name is, Baal, you get Astarte and Tammuz. Revelation 19 and 11 is sufficient. And I saw heaven open, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat upon him was called Faithful and True. And in righteousness he do judge and make war. Now you have to sit back and look at it. We didn't read it, but you can look at Elijah. In righteousness he judged and he made war. See, he told him, he said, how long will you halt between two opinions? If Baal be Elohim, serve him. But if Yahuwah be Elohim, serve him. And then they did certain things, you know what I'm saying, to prove who was the true and living Elohim. So, and then Elijah went to make war with these prophets of Baal, 450 to be exact, and slaughtered them. His eyes were a flame of fire, and on his heads were many crowns, and he had a name written that no man knew but he himself. And he was clothed with a vesture dipped in blood, and his name is called the Word of Elohim. And the armies which were in Shamahim followed him upon white horses, clothed in fine linen, white and clean. Now let me talk to y'all about that one there with the white horse, because that's something that I ran across the other day. Let me tell you about this bald-headed hoe. She's a Hindu goddess. Some of you might know who she is. Some of you may not. But if she's not a Hindu goddess, I apologize. She's a Celtic goddess. She's a Celt goddess. Goddess of the Druids, people in what you would call England, Ireland, things of that nature. Her name is Rhiannon. Sounds real close to Rihanna, if you will. She's the Welsh horse goddess. Her name means white witch or great queen. She's an inspiring figure to invoke for poets, artists, and singers. She possesses deep magic and can manifest her dreams and desires for the good of all. She's a good witch. Because and the reason why you hear good witch, because you have these people, they have what they call the right-hand path or the left-hand path. You know what I'm saying? Or it could be, i.e., the Blue Lodge and the Red Lodge, which, you know what I'm saying? Blue Lodge being Scottish Rite Freemasonry, which contains 33 degrees. York Rite Freemasonry, which contains 14 degrees. You know what I'm saying? If you see the red and the blue, that's probably why you notice that you see that with Democrat and Republican, Blood and Crips. All this stuff is programming to point you back to the Mason Hall, to point you back to the pyramids of Kemetic Mystery School worship. But, you know, they have what they call white magic and black magic. And most of y'all are probably familiar with that if you watch Disney films and things of that ilk. That's where you see that at. That's another reason why you see the checkerboard patterns in the Mason halls and the black and white with the yin and the yang, because it's supposed to be, you know, the good and the evil, the positive, the duality. These people are very, very, very big into that and into their pagan customs. So she travels on a powerful white horse with her mysterious birds that possess healing powers. These birds are magical, for they are the birds of the sweetest song. She is their mistress. Rhiannon's birds appear in various Celtic symbols and Celtic art. Rhiannon is a goddess, the princess submerged in cultural darkness, who lies like a shadowy creature in the realms of our dreams, waiting to come to life with vigor and passion again. She was patient and she was beautiful. She was also extremely courageous. She possessed magnificent singing birds, which heal with magical quality of their voices. And she's also known as the Phoenix. This is kind of what she's based off of. But nevertheless,
Why did we look at this bald-headed hoe named Rhiannon? Well, if some of you remember this here, right before Nipsey Hussle was killed, they showed him sitting on a white horse with his bald-headed hoe. You know what I'm saying? Just letting you know that 9 times out of 10 he was going to be a sacrifice to this goddess. But you don't think at the time the Celts were moving about, they knew that the scriptures bear witness to Yahushua riding on a white horse. See, let me show you something about some horses in the book of Zechariah to bring this to anyone's remembrance who may not recall that these horses are mentioned here. And let's just see if you see something. It's Zechariah chapter 5. It's the chapter 5 that I want. It's chapter 6. I had 6 in my brain. I said 5 out loud. 6 and 1. He said, and I turned and lifted up my eyes and looked, and behold, there came 4 chariots out from between 2 mountains, and the mountains were mountains of brass. That mountain again would be symbolic or showing you about the Mount of Olives. And the first chariot were red horses, and the second chariot black horses, and the third chariot white horses, and the fourth chariot grizzled and bay horses. Then I answered and said unto the Malachim that talked with me, what are these, my Lord? The Malachim answered and said unto me, these are the 4 ruachs of Shamahim, which go forth from standing before the Lord of all the earth. The black horses which are therein go forth to the north country, and the white go after them. And the grizzled go forth towards the south country, and the bay went forth and sought to go that they may walk to and fro through the earth. And he said, get you hence and walk to and fro through the earth. So they walked again to and fro through the earth, and they cried, and then cried he upon me and spake unto me, saying, behold, these go toward the north country. They have quieted my ruach in the north country. So we didn't go, because you'd have to go back into Revelation. You know, there are other horses. Let's go look at these horses, because it would be very, very egregious to talk about these, to read the horses in Zechariah and then not go back and read about these horses. Because everybody knows about the pale horse. Hold on, let me see what time. You know, William Cooper, a man who is dead now, he wrote a book called Behold the Pale Horse. Revelation 6 and 6. Or 6 and 1. You know, and if you're not familiar with Behold the Pale Horse, you know, he wrote about a lot of things that people call quote unquote conspiracies, when really they're not conspiracies. They're just manifestations of Baal worship, manifestations of Heru worship, or whatever the case may be. He said, I saw the Lamb open one of the seals and heard as it was a noise of thunder, one of the 4 beasts saying, come and see. And then I saw, and behold, a white horse. And he that sat on him had a bow, and a crown was given unto him, and he went forth conquering and to conquer. So you see that they take this woman, Rhiannon, and they sit her on this white horse, and they try to use that white horse as a means to show, you know, that you're a conqueror. And you kind of heard that a little bit, and the description of her. But that white horse is about Mashiach, because he's the leader, and he's coming through in the white horse to conquer and to slay and to lead the armies. And the next thing he says, and he opened the second seal, and I heard the second beast say, come and see. And there went out another horse that was red. Power was given to him that sat thereon to take shalom from the earth, that they should kill one another. And it was given unto him a great sword. So when Yahushua say that nation shall rise up against nation and kingdom against kingdom, we see that this is going to happen when this particular seal is opened, this second seal, because this particular horse will have the power to have rule, to cause men to kill each other. Look at the next thing it says. Verse 5. And when he opened the third seal, I heard the third beast say, come and see, and behold, lo, a black horse. And he sat on him and had a pair of balances in his hand. And I heard a voice in the midst of the 4 beasts say, a measure of wheat for a penny, 3 measures of barley for a penny. See, you hurt not the oil and the wine. Don't hurt the ruach and the covenant. And when I heard open the 4th seal, I heard the voice of the 4th beast say, come and see. Now you have to think about that with that black horse. That black horse is to protect those who are Elohim. That's why they say don't hurt the oil and the wine. You should be referring back to things that we went over in the past. You know, the wine is symbolic of the covenant. The oil is the ruach. He said don't injure those. Verse 7. And when he opened the fourth seal, I heard the voice of the fourth beast say, come and see. And I looked, and behold, a pale horse. And his name that sat on him was Death, and hell, and followed with him. Power was given unto him over the fourth part of the earth to kill with the sword, and with death, and with the beast of the earth. Now let's look at this definition for pale. Let's just see what their definition in Greek is for pale. The word is chloros. It's something that's green or yellowish pale. So this is the color of what this horse is described as. Green or yellowish pale. And it's going to go forth and it's going to have the power to kill everyone. So even though they have Rhiannon sitting on this white horse, she would be more representative of this pale horse because she is going about to kill and to destroy. You see, they like to play the duality games, and the games are things of this nature to keep you distracted. You know what I'm saying? And to reiterate that again at the same token, Rhiannon ain't nobody but Astarte to Ashtaroth to Isis. That's all it is. Same person, different name. You know what I'm saying? The same individual to deceive in the same fashion for the utter destruction of mankind. Can't be simple enough to fall for it, and we have to move past and looking at these things in regards to being conspiracies. Revelation 19, you have to sit back and look at it in regards that the ancient deities of old are continually worshipped in the exact same fashion that they were worshipped in antiquity. You know what I'm saying? They make their little variations in certain situations because they know they can't do things out in the open like they used to. But at the end of the day, they still worshiping their gods, and they're not going to stop. This is what they do. This is what they've always done. Revelation 19 and 14. And the armies which were in heaven followed upon him in white horses, clothed in fine linen, white and clean. And out of his mouth goeth a sharp sword, that with it he should smite the nations, and that he should rule them with a rod of iron. And he tread the winepress of the fierceness and wrath of Almighty Elohim. And he have on his vesture and on his thigh name written, King of Kings and Lord of Lords. And you know, we just got to keep on rolling because now he's talking about the birds. But you notice that it said that that woman had birds following her around. And Yahushua gonna have birds coming behind him to eat the flesh and to drink the blood of the great sacrifice that Yahuwah has made for them, that they may eat the flesh of mighty men and drink the blood of kings and be drunken at his feast that he has prepared for them. So always look and pay attention to how these people will make things to try to mimic your Elohim. This is why it goes back to why it's important to know your Elohim. And they won't have the ability to deceive you. Come back to Proverbs chapter 9, though, because we do have to get Tammuz in here before we depart. 9 and 13. So it says, a foolish woman is clamorous, she's simple, she knows nothing. So we already can see this here because Jezebel was a loud, boisterous, tumultuous, contentious woman. And we knew that she knew absolutely nothing. We know that going back to what we read last week about those who worship idols because they're like unto the idols, because the idols not know anything. She says she sits at the door of her house and on the seat in the high places of the city to call passengers who go right on their ways. So she's looking to entice people who are going on their way. This goes back to what we already read in Ezekiel 13 about these women hunting souls. Because that's what they out there doing. They hunting souls. You know what I'm saying? Women who were whores all their life, now they say they evangelists. Things of this nature. One thing for certain and two things for sure. You ain't read nowhere in the text where Yahuwah used no woman who had been ran through to prophesy no word. They ain't got nothing to do about that. Y'all won't look upon a woman. Shalom, Brother Harrison. That don't mean that he won't look upon a woman or can use a woman for a specific purpose. But you don't see Yahuwah dwelling in no woman who had been ran through. A woman who had been ran through couldn't even come and approach and do certain things. Because you're sitting back where he gonna dwell at. Because I say that because you have a lot of women, they used to be whores and they pop up and say they evangelists. I mean, it is what it is. But when we look at to call passengers, you know, to go right, who go right on their ways, you know, that word for right is yashar, which is the word for upright, to be straight and to be lawful. And orak is your manner of living or your path. So this woman is looking, we could pull the word for passengers too. There we go. When we have passengers here, we have avar. And that's to pass over, go by, through, to alienate, take away, transgress, pass us through, to pass through, victim of a covenant, to pass along, pass on, go by, things of that nature. There's a lot of definitions for this particular word. This particular word is used quite a bit in the text. When we look at on their ways, again, it's orak, aleph, rosh, kat, your way of living, your pathway, your road. So you see that somebody who's been separated by the strength of the highest. This woman is seeking to take that down. When you look at a lot of, that's why you see that there in Revelation 2, when it says she seduces my servants to commit fornication and to eat things that are sacrificed unto idols. This is what that woman who called herself a prophetess, Jezebel, is doing. That's why she's sitting in the high places of the city. You know what I'm saying? To call passengers, to bring you on over so she can get you out of the right way. This is going again about why you have to pay attention to the programming and the things that they put out there. They're trying to program you in every avenue of multimedia that is possible to program an individual, whether it's through the television, whether it's through movies, whether it's through music, whether it's through social media, whether it's through athletic events. It doesn't matter. Either way it go, you're being attacked and bust across your head with goddess worship, to the intent that you will turn from your Elohim and worship Baal and Asherah, or Astarte and Tammuz, or Isis and Osiris. Verse 16 said, whoso is simple, let him turn in hither. And as for him that want understanding, she say to him, listen to what she say now, to sin that want understanding. Because when you sit back and you say, let him turn in hither, as for him that won't, that is the word kasar, which we talked about recently. That's somebody who's lacking or needs understanding. So she said, anybody who needs understanding, they're going to turn in hither, and she's going to say to him, stolen waters are sweet, and bread eaten in secret is pleasant. But he knows not that the dead are there, and that her guests are in the depths of hell. So when she gonna shoot you this game, you're not knowing that this woman is gonna devour you and kill you. When we look at depths, it's a mock, and that's unfathomable or unintelligible of speech or deep. But let's look at stolen. Stolen is ganav, it's to steal or to carry away. So she say stolen waters are sweet. You know that's ma'im. When you look at sweet, it's mathak. She said this is something that's pleasant. So she's trying to tell you that this stolen ruach or these stolen words are sweet, and that if you got bread and you eat it in secret, this is pleasant. Sathar is for a secrecy, a hiding place, somewhere you can hide to eat your bread. See, come over here to Ezekiel. See, that's what they do for them 40 days of Lent, doing all that stuff they be doing, eating their little bread, weeping for Tammuz. And a lot of times, man, when you see somebody been and got killed in a ritualistic fashion, and the people go out there and make shrines, they ain't doing nothing but replaying the weeping for Tammuz. You see it every single solitary time. You seen it when Nipsey Hussle got killed. They were out there weeping for Tammuz. They end up taking the person who's been killed and deifying them, and that person becomes a deity or a god in the eyesight of the people. And you out here weeping for Tammuz, and they're pleased. They don't care. They'll take, Satan get it how he can get it. Ezekiel 8:1, he take it how he can take it. He's thoroughly unconcerned. And it came to pass in the 6th year, in the 6th month, and the 5th day of the month, as I sat at my house, and the elders of Yehudah sat before me, that the hand of Yahuwah Elohim fell there upon me. Then I beheld a likeness as the appearance of fire. Because remember, Elohim is a consuming fire. From the appearance of his loins, even downward fire, and from his loins, even upward, as the appearance of brightness, as the color of amber. And he put forth the form of an hand. And he took me by the lock of my head, and the Ruach lifted me up between earth and Shamahim, just like Yahushua got lifted up between earth and Shamahim. And he brought me in the visions of Elohim to Jerusalem, to the door of the inner gate that looked towards the north, where the seat of the image of jealousy, which provoked the jealousy, looked through the north gate. That's Judah's gate. When you see the seat of the image of jealousy, this is what you call it? What's the name? It's the mercy seat. And they're provoking him to jealousy. We already read that already. That Ahab provoked Elohim to jealousy. He said, have no other Elohim before me. I'm a jealous Elohim. Nevertheless, he said, behold, the esteem of Elohim of Yasharal was there, according to the vision that I saw in the plain. Then he said unto me, son of man, lift up your eyes now the way toward the north. So lifted up my eyes the way toward the north. And behold, northward at the north gate of the altar, this image of jealousy in the entry. He said, furthermore, son of man, see what they do, even the greater abominations that the house of Yasharal commit here, that I should go far off from my sanctuary, but turn you yet again, and you shall see greater abominations. So now they also, on top of this, they done brought idols in the temple, and they worship them in there. And they worshiping them in there. That's how bold they were. Because remember, it said in the inner gate. So these people that went inside, bringing this stuff into the inner sanctum of the sanctuary to defile it. Let's continue. He said, furthermore, son of man, unto me. I'm verse 7. And he brought me to the door of the court, and when I looked, behold, a hole in the wall. Then he said unto me, son of man, dig now in the wall. And when I had digged in the wall, behold, a door. And he said unto me, go in and behold the wicked abominations that they do here. So I went and saw, and behold, every form of creeping things and abominable beasts, and all the idols of the house of Yasharal portrayed upon the wall round about. So now they've done, of course, of what you know that the nations like to do, which was to make images of their deities. These people have went into the temple of Yahuwah and made images of the deities on the walls. More than likely imitating what they saw in Kemet. So you could see good old Anubis, the jackal god, and mess around and see Horus, and he probably playing with a penis. Got Asherah on the wall, got Tammuz on the wall. You got to remember, Astarte, who Asherah is, was the goddess of sex and lust. This is what they're doing in the temple. This is what he say in verse 11. There stood before them 70 men of the ancients of the house of Yasharal. In the midst of them stood Yazaniah, the son of Shaphan, with every man a censer in his hand, and a thick cloud of incense went up. Then he said unto me, son of man, have you seen what the ancients of the house of Yasharal do in the dark? Because remember, stolen waters are sweet. So that's what they end up doing. They stealing the things of Yahuwah to give it unto idols, and bread eaten in secret is pleasant. He said, every man in the chambers of his imagery, for they say, Yahuwah see us not. Yahuwah have forsaken the earth. He said unto me, turn you yet again, and you shall see greater abominations that they do. Then they brought me to the door of the gate of Yahuwah's house, which was towards the north, and behold, there sat women weeping for Tammuz. Then he said unto me, have you seen this, O son of man? Turn you yet again, and you shall see greater abominations than these. He brought me into the inner court of Yahuwah's house, and behold, at the door of the temple of Yahuwah, between the porch and the altar, were about 25 men with their backs towards the temple of Yahuwah, and their faces towards the east, and they worshiped the sun towards the east. Then he said unto me, have you seen this, O son of man? Is a light thing to the house of Yehuda that they commit abominations, what they commit here? For they fill the land with violence and have returned to provoke me to anger. And lo, they put their branch to their nose. Therefore, I will also deal in fury. My eyes shall not spare, neither will I have pity. And though they cry in my ears with a loud voice, yet I will not hear them. Now, I finished that out. We can read about Tammuz real quickly. For the simple fact, Yahuwah hates idolatry. He absolutely despises it. It is absolutely disgusting to him. And if you fool with it, he ain't going to fool with you. He ain't going to fool with you. Now you're sitting back and he said, there women in the temple weeping for Tammuz. You got men with their backs to the temple, worshiping the sun. Worshiping the sun. You had 4 different people. You had 4 different instances, if my memory serves me correctly, that if I'm speaking correctly, that were worshiping different idols in the house of Yahuwah. They came with deceit. They came and brought an image of jealousy in there. They turned around. They burned incense in here. No, they got their idols written on all the walls. Then they burning incense in here. Got 5, I should say. This is what they're doing. Let's look at what it says for portrayed there. That they portray their images. Let's see, because that just hit my mind. Let's see what the word is for that. Oh, I'm in the wrong chapter, that's why. We ain't gonna read chapter 9, because chapter 9, when he sent them through there and tell them to go kill everybody, starting with the babies and all. See, some people see that and read that and be like, how can he do that? That man ain't playing no games. He told them kill the babies and all. But at the end of the day, the word for portray is to cut or to carve or to cut in, to engrave or to cut a limit. The word is kakab. So they went in and they made idols. They made statues. So just like that statue I was telling y'all about, Parvati, the Hindu goddess, who you seen Lil Kim and Nicki Minaj and all them mimicking, that's Ezekiel 8 and 14. That's what they were making, little statues. Just like the golden calf, they made little statues, they made little idols. See, pause, Judges 17, if I'm not mistaken. See, at the end of the day, idolatry is the thing that probably got Yasharal in trouble the most. Was worshiping idols. You know what I'm saying? We talked about it. We even ran across it. You should have seen it in major in-depthness. What that was last year or 2 years ago, whatever it was, when we went through the thing with the kings and things of that nature. Hold on, it ain't 17. About how that idolatrous worship got them in trouble. But that idolatry gets you in trouble. You ain't got no business doing it. You ain't got no business fooling with it. That man is not on that. It's chapter 17. I'm tripping. I just want you to see what he went in there and he did. 17 and 1. And he went and did the same thing with his idols. He went and got him a priest. This is Micah, if you will. There was a man of Mount Ephraim whose name was Micah. He said unto his mother, 1,100 shekels of silver that were taken from you, about which you cursed, and spake also in my ears. Behold, the silver is with me, I took it. And his mother said, Baruch be you, O Yahuwah, my son. And when he restored the 1,100 shekels of silver to his mother said, I wholly dedicate the silver unto Yahuwah from my hand for my son to make a graven image and a molten image. And now, therefore, I will restore it unto you. Now, look what they done. You done took something that you done got restored back. And instead of doing something proper with it, you say, I'm going to bless it in the name of Yahuwah, and then say, hey, son, go make you an idol. So he restored the money unto his mother, and his mother took 200 shekels of silver and gave them to the founder, who made there a graven image and a molten image, and they were in the house of Micah. And the man Micah had a house of gods and made an ephod and a teraphim and consecrated one of his sons who became a priest. And in those days, there was no king in Yasharal, but every man did that which was right in his own eyes. And that's the problem. People do what they feel like is right in their eyes, and that's what's not which is right in the eyesight of Yahuwah. So this man went and made some idols. See, come over the book of Isaiah, what he told you about doing that there, making you a little idol, how he feel about that. Took him right to molten founder, say, you come and make them. You come make them. Isaiah 42, if I'm not mistaken. It might be 45. It's 44. 44 and 6. See, no idols, it ain't no game. It's not a game. You know what I'm saying? Because of anything that you can do, you know what I'm saying? You know, that's done wrong. You who ain't with it. But when it comes to idol worship, that's going to provoke him to jealousy, like you trying him. Shalom, man. You trying him. When you worship idols, you trying him, because what you seen what it said with Ahab, he provoked. Anytime you see anybody fooling with idols, you see that it says it provoked Yahuwah to anger. Because you're trying to provoke his jealousy. And he ain't the one to try. He says, thus saith Yahuwah the Malach of Yasharal and his Redeemer, Yahuwah of hosts, I'm the first and I'm the last. Besides me, there is no Elohim. And who as I shall call and shall declare and set it in order for me. Since I appointed the ancient people and the things that are coming and shall come, let them show unto them. Fear you not, neither be afraid. Have I not told you from the time that you've heard declared it, you are even my witnesses? Is there an Elohim beside me? There is no Elohim. I know not any. No strong word from Yahuwah right there. He said, you tell me about it, because I don't know now. I don't know no Tammuz, no Astarte. I'm going to say it, just like I said, I mentioned bald-headed hoes for the duration of this calendar year, which will not conclude until March, quote unquote, of the following year. Same thing I feel about a goddess. You ought to kick a goddess square in her chin, slap her upside the head, tell her get some sense. Look to Sarah who bore you. Ain't no goddess, you silly heifer. Have you taken the time to read? Because if you a goddess, which goddess are you? Are you Kali? Would I consider Jesus as an idol? The doctrine of Jesus is idolatry because it's not according to the text. The doctrine of Jesus, as Jesus is taught across the world, is an amalgamation of Horus, Dionysus. This is why they say that Dionysus and Bacchus and Horus and Thor and Hercules are the same as Jesus, because Jesus, as the teaching in the world, this is why Paul makes the mention, if somebody come preaching another Yahushua whom we have not preached, you might want to bear well with them. That's what they have done. They have taken the script and they've closely cloaked their idolatrous worship along with him. It's not to see a lot of brothers get caught with the name. It's really more so the teaching. The name, truth be told, you could take that junk and flush it down the toilet. You know what I'm saying? It's really unnecessary to argue about it. But if somebody going to use Jesus, you might as well just continue having the conversation that you're having. Because if you stop and say Jesus is an idol, the conversation is not going to proceed, because individuals are going to start arguing about linguistics. And now you're straining at a gnat and swallowing a camel, when you could have just continued on and dissected the fact that this doctrine that you're bringing to me of this individual whom you refer to by this name is really the doctrine of Horus, the doctrine of Bacchus. Let me tell you about the Savior in this text. You know what I'm saying? Because it's the teaching, not the name, truth be told. You know what I'm saying? Truth be told. Because somebody could say Jesus and know the gospel. Somebody could say Yahushua and be teaching another Yahushua. So it just all depends. But it's more so of the teaching. Because the reason why I say that is because you take the cross. You know, that's going to go back to an Ankh. You know what I'm saying? Which is the male and feminine put together. You know what I'm saying? Which would make Jesus an idol, because this would be Osiris and Horus. Do you know what I'm saying? To say scriptural. So you have to have an understanding of your Elohim to understand that. You know what I'm talking about? Or if you take the fact of the fish, we already talked about that. See, the Jesus represent. See, that's Dagon. You dealing with Poseidon. See, that's an idol. I don't know who that is. You know what I'm saying? Because you're taking before you start getting into doctrines and things of that nature. You know what I mean? But I said all that just to be thorough to this factor. Don't get caught up that the name Jesus is not an idol. The name Jesus is just a bad explanation of someone's name, truth be told, regardless of how anybody feels. You know what I'm saying? But it's not the end of the world. But the teaching that go along with Jesus is gross idolatry. You know what I'm saying? It's gross idolatry. And like I said, an individual could be teaching in the name of Yahusha and still be teaching another Yahusha and have you scarred either way. So it pays to know your Elohim, and you won't, and we won't have those problems. Verse 9. He said, they that make a graven image, all of them are vanity, and they are detective, and their delectable things shall not profit. They are their own witnesses. They see not nor know that they may be ashamed. So anybody who you see participating in idolatry, who will just say they bear witness against their self, that they don't know nothing and they can't see nothing. And what did it say? A foolish woman is clamper. She's simple. She don't know nothing. So a woman walk around here talking about she a God and she bear witness against herself that she don't know nothing or she'd be ashamed. And she will humble herself under the mighty hand of Elohim, you silly rabbit, but you won't do it. He said, who have formed a god or a molten graven image that is profitable for nothing? Who done took the time to do something that they ain't even had no gain for? He said, behold, all his fellows shall be ashamed, and workmen they are of men. Let them all be gathered together. Let them stand up, yet they shall fear, and they shall be ashamed together. The smith with the tongs, both working the coals, and fashioned it with hammers, and working with the strength of his arms. Yea, is he hungry? And his strength fail. He drank no water in his fame. The carpenter stretch out his rule, and he make it out with a line, and he fit it with the planes, and he mark it with a compass, and make the figure of a man, according to the beauty of a man, that it may remain in the house. He hew him down cedars, and take the cypress and the oak, which he strengthened for himself among the trees of the forest. He planted ash, and rain do nourish it. Then it shall be for a man to burn, and he will take thereof and warm himself. Yea, he kindle it and bake bread. He make a god and worship it. He make it a graven image. He fall down there too. And he burn part thereof in the fire. With the part thereof he eat flesh, he roast, and is satisfied. Yea, he warm himself and say, aha, I am warm. I have seen the fire. And the residue thereof he make a god. His graven image he fall down unto it and worship it and pray unto it and say, deliver me, for you are my God. Then see, you sit back and use it. Idiot. And this is what they were doing in the temple. They had them carve these same images what he referring to and sat down and look what he said, right? And they bake bread and they make a god and they eat it because he said bread eaten in secret is sweet. So you sit back and you eat your meats and you eat your bread for your God in secret. Do you know what I'm saying? He said they have none known nor understood. He have shut their eyes that they cannot see and their hearts that they cannot understand. None consider in his heart, neither is there knowledge nor understanding to say, I burned part of it in the fire. Yea, I've also baked bread upon the coals thereof. I roasted flesh and eaten it. And shall I make the residue thereof an abomination? So I fall down to the stock of a tree. Look how Yahuwah mocking him. Look how he mocking him. He said, you ain't got enough sense, you silly ingrate, to see the same fire that you made this idol with is the same place you burnt your animal flesh and baked your bread at, you stupid nigga, and you falling down worshiping this stock of a tree and you praying to it. And that's what the women in the temple were doing when they were weeping for Tammuz. They was in there weeping for Tammuz. They in there looking at a statue in the temple of Yahuwah crying. The same statue that they made in the same place where they ate bread and roasted that animal flesh at. I had to read all of it because I want you to hear how Yahuwah feel about it. He sit back and he laugh and mock niggas who serve idols. He find you stupid, so he laughs at you. Do you know what I'm saying? I'll read that to you again. He's saying there's none consider in his heart, neither is there knowledge nor understanding to say, I burned part of it in the fire. Yea, also I baked bread upon the coals thereof. I roasted flesh and eaten it. And shall I make the residue thereof an abomination? Shall I fall down to the stock of a tree? He feed on ashes. A deceived heart have turned him aside, that he cannot deliver his soul, nor say, is there not a lie in my right hand? He said, you ain't got good sense. He said, you ain't got good sense. But let me tell you, let me read you a little bit about Tammuz, because I done went over. Let me read you a little bit about Tammuz. Tammuz was the patriarch and the dying god. As common origin of Tammuz and other deities from the archaic god, the Mediterranean racial myth. He was, his lover is Ishtar, also known as Astarte or Ashtaroth. And, he was killed by the Titans of that pantheon of gods at that particular juncture. But like I say, among the gods of Babylonia, none achieved wider and more enduring fame than Tammuz, who was loved by Ishtar, the amorous queen of heaven. The beautiful youth who died and was mourned for and came to life again. He does not figure by his popular name in any city of the pantheons, but from the earliest times of which we have knowledge until the passing of the Babylonian civilization, he played a prominent part in the religious life of the people. Notice that this is one of the reasons why they say he just like Jesus. See, he was killed and he rose again from the dead. But see, they ain't gonna tell you the whole story, what they had going on. But this is the thing of what they're doing. That's what Lent is for. See, with Lent, and they say, we're fasting for certain stuff for 40 days because they wept for Tammuz for 40 days. Well, why did they weep for Tammuz for 40 days? Because how many days was Yahushua on the earth before he went back to Shamahim after his resurrection? 40 days. See, people think they slick in what they doing. Well, I ain't gonna say the people, but the adversary. They think they slick. They think they know what he doing. But see, the thing is you don't know your Elohim, so you gonna fall for the okie doke. You gonna go for it, and you gonna get deceived. See, then the thing on top of that, along with that, is that when he was killed, that people who participate in the weeping for Tammuz, they get the cross written on their forehead. Got that? That's for Ash Wednesday. They put the ashes on their head because this is when he's supposed to have been killed. If my memory serves me correctly, if that's what went on Ash Wednesday, and then people making a complete jackass out of themselves, weeping for Tammuz. It says Tammuz, like Osiris of Egypt, was an agricultural deity, and as the Babylonian harvest was the gift of the rivers, it is a profitable one of the several forms of Tammuz of the abyss. He was also the child, the heroic lord, the sentinel, the healer. See, that's the thing that they sat back and they looked at. A young man going out, healing people. And the patriarch who reigned over the early Babylonians for a considerable period. Tammuz of the abyss was one of the members of the family of either god of the deep or the god of the dead, whose other sons, in addition to Medrach, and we're going to read about him because he's in the book of Jeremiah, were Nera, an obscure deity, Kigula, meaning world destroyer, Bamunta, broad ear, Bara, Bargula, probably revealers or oracles. In addition, there was a daughter whose name meant child of renowned spirit. She may have been identical with Belshiri, who was referred to in the Sumerian hymns as the sister of Tammuz. The family group was probably formed by symbolizing the attributes of Ea and his spouse, Damkina. And Tammuz and his character as a patriarch may have been regarded as a hostage from the gods, the human form of A, who has instructed mankind, like King Osiris, how to grow corn and to cultivate fruit trees. So this is what they say. And again, they take this same token and they compare him to Yahushua and say, he was the instructor of mankind. Came down from heaven in the image of his father to be the instructor of mankind. He's also known by another name, Adonis. That's what the Greeks called him. They called him Adonis. Some of y'all are familiar with that name. He was also a goddess of fertility and vegetation. And his story is pretty much similar to Tammuz. But let's look at this part with Tammuz. They said there's hymns called the preeminent steer of heaven. A popular sacrifice was a white kid of the god of Tammuz, however, might be substituted by a sucking pig. Osiris also had associations with swine, and the Egyptians, according to Herodotus, sacrificed a pig to him annually. And when Set at full moon hunted the boar in the Delta marshes, he probably hunted the boar form of Osiris, whose human body had been recovered from the sacred tree by Isis, as the soul of Ptah, the hero of the Egyptian folk tale. But listen to this crap that these people believe and try to say it's the same as Yahuwah's son, Yahushua HaMashiach. But this is what your ancestors were doing when they was in there weeping to Tammuz. This is why he say, little children, keep yourself from idols. And that's why you see, that's why you can come back to this Proverbs 9. And that's why he made that instance that bread eaten in secret is pleasant. Because it was pleasant to these people to eat that bread in secret, as we just seen in Isaiah. But he said, but you don't know that the dead are there and that are guests of the depths of hell. How do you not know the dead are there? Because it says everybody who does this has no understanding, can't see, they dead. That's what happens when you fool with idols. You have no life in you because there is no life in the idol, because Yahuwah is life. And Yahuwah has given it power to his son to quicken all things. And that's the only way that we can get life. That's why you got to leave the idols alone. Not saying that y'all fool with idols. When I'm talking about leave the idols alone, of being cognizant and aware of the idolatrous programming that goes on in various forms of media, and make sure that you don't expose your seedlings to said idolatry. If you know that you were mired in idolatry all the way to your 20s, why would you subject your children to the same thing when you know that's what's going about? Just doesn't make any sense. So hallelujah for Yahushua, the word. We will stop it right there. I appreciate everybody's time. Bless everybody out of the house of Yahuwah, name of Yahushua. Everybody stay up, stay strong, and just remember that the whole world lies in wickedness. And as a man, it's your job to instruct your household in the wiles and the ways of the adversary, that you may not be ignorant of his devices, that they may not fall victim to said programming, because it's all around us, heavily promoted. That's what these people on. That's what they gonna be on. It ain't gonna change. And we still got to look at Bel and Nebo, because Bel and Nebo will take us the stuff more to the end. Look at Medrak, because we say we read the verses where these deities are mentioned, but we gonna sit back and look at it and understand about these deities and what they got going on, and that is still going on to this day. To this day, they have never stopped worshiping their deities. They do it in your face. Some of your favorite athletes and entertainers and celebrities participate. You know what I'm talking about? And that's what it is. And like we mentioned last week, people in antiquity knew this. So it wasn't a shock for them to see this. See, we've been desensitized 2 times. You've been desensitized in regards to that these people have stopped worshiping these deities while the whole world worshiping these deities. And then also, you've been desensitized to the deities. So to see the worship of the deities, it may not offend you. But all this is just dealing with one thing. And this is taking the time to learn real history. Because a lot of the things that we have been told are historical are lies. You know what I'm saying? And they're not even hard lies to debunk. It just takes a little bit of time and research. The time that you could spend watching a sporting event or binge watching a television show or sitting around having a conversation about absolutely nothing, you could have taken the time to educate yourself into true facts and true history to be able to educate your children and your spouse. You know what I'm saying? It's a man's job to teach his wife. You know what I'm saying? Give her the tools. You know what I'm saying? We should all be striving to learn something new every week. I ain't gonna necessarily say you might learn something new every day, but you should be learning something new every week, and a multitude of topics. You know what I'm saying? I just heard a brother talking about that, and it sparked something and it was about Leonardo da Vinci and William Shakespeare. You know what I'm saying? In regards to how these men were masters in multiple different disciplines. Well, because they had curious minds. So they had a desire to learn many, many different things. Usually why most people's minds stop learning at that clip is usually because their minds get stifled. Usually their parents stifle them. You know what I'm saying? Stifle their creativity, stifle their curiosity. You know what I'm saying? Stifle their desire to learn. So it does that doesn't flourish. Or because we live in a society that is specifically to America. I can't speak for other countries, but Western civilization is designed specifically for the purpose of you being entertained, because entertainment is a distraction. So when you are distracted, you don't have the time and the discipline to be to isolate yourself, to be an isolationist, is what I'm trying to say, to be able to discipline yourself to learn things of this nature. If you really want to do something great, then you have to actually isolate yourself from other people. You know what I'm saying? But you live in a society now where people are so sensitive. Why you don't talk to me? Why you don't call me? But at the same token, that if you know you're doing that, it would make common sense to let the people whom you've been communicating on a regular basis, to let them know I'm finna go MIA, because I'm about to work on something and I need to seclude myself from human contact. So if it's not an emergency, don't call my phone. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm trying to focus. Most people don't like that, because most people want you to waddle in mediocrity as they waddle in mediocrity, because they can't understand someone isolating themselves and focusing strictly and solely on a specific task in order to master it, to be able to unlock the greatness that exists within in every single solitary man that walks this earth. You know what I'm saying? It is there. This has to be cultivated. You know what I'm saying? And you have to have the passion and desire to do so. One of the things, and I noticed it since I was a young man. I'm talking about, matter of fact, for the truth be told, it started clicking in my head because I was a husky child at one point. So some say. I think I wasn't too husky. I just didn't get tall yet at that time. So I had excess fat upon my body, because once I started getting a little taller, it went away. Everybody, oh, he's going to play football. He's going to be an offensive line. I'm like, why do you niggas assume I wanted to play sports? Why did you just make that assumption? Of all the things in life that I could do, why is it that you would point me to a physically violent game that I may only play for 3 years? Because that's the minimum, that's the average career length in the National Football League. You know what I'm saying? That there's only 53 men on the roster, 32 teams. It wasn't even 32 teams back then. So you're talking about 1,600 roster spots. Now you're talking about 115 Division I football schools that have 100 men on a roster, not even talking about D2 and D3. So that means you have over 150,000, 200,000 people competing for 1,600 spots. And of all the things in life that I could do, this is what you want to encourage me to do? Don't even talk about basketball. 29 teams, 15 men a roster. You know what I'm saying? You're talking about 400 spots. Word. Yeah, I got shoot. You working on something. You know what I'm saying? And there are over, if I'm not mistaken, 300 Division I basketball schools. Just not even counting D2, anything else like this here. So again, you're talking about maybe 20, 30,000 people competing for 400 spots. Of all the things that you could take in your son to cultivate, why would it be that? Why wouldn't you think of things to cultivate in his mind that he could be a benefit and a profit to his family and therefore to his community? We don't even think like that because we have a slave mentality. You don't have a ruling class mentality. So that's why you'll be so quick to send your son off to be a part of a minstrel show. You know what I'm saying? And this ain't something new for me in that regard to that line of thinking, because I thought like that as a young man. I was like, if I had a son, I never let my son play sports, ever. Yeah, we watch it. You ain't playing it, though. If you could play it, that's something that you would develop on your own, because I'm not going to bring it up. I'm not going to say, son, you want to play football or want to play basketball? I know that this young man has many other talents that exist inside of him other than to be a monkey for a white man. You know what I'm saying? My son is more than watch that monkey run and watch that monkey jump. You know what I'm saying? Bottom line, my son is not for sport. He's not for your entertainment. You know what I'm saying? That's why you see, white folks let their kids play sports, but they have a ruling class mentality. So they don't think in that regard. So this is what I'm going to push him to do. You don't think in that regard. That's not a number one priority for them. The same token that it's not a number one priority for a lot of them to let their children consume mass amounts of television because they know it'll dumb you down. And they don't want that to happen to their children, so they don't allow them to do it. Do you know what I'm saying? And it just is what it is. They prep and they prepare and they groom their children for greatness for the most part. Not all of them. You know what I'm saying? I got something I want to wait till everybody is in person. I don't want to give you time to research it, but I could give you that time to research. Matter of fact, I'll give you that there, man. We'll talk about that Saturday. Take your time and go research what the Civil War was really about. And I'm gonna see who gonna actually find out the information of why the Civil War was fought. And it didn't come across my mind when Juneteenth came by. One of the reasons I didn't say nothing about Juneteenth because I already knew what the Civil War was fought about, and to celebrate Juneteenth shows that you are considerably ignorant to true history. Because if you knew true history, that day would have meant absolutely nothing to you. You wouldn't even have sought to try to make Juneteenth be in competition with the 4th of July, also knowing that the 4th of July is Midsummer's Eve and that a human sacrifice was going to be required. And that was part of the time because the month of July is named after Tammuz. You would have already known that the month of June and July, specifically coming up to the summer solstice, was all a part of the 40 days for weeping for Tammuz. You would have already known that. And you would have already known what was going on, and you would have seen it and not seen it and went about your business. You know what I'm saying? But that's the time. That's why people make that cliche statement that those that don't know history are doomed to repeat it. To know history, one thing for certain. It definitely wasn't for that. You're gonna have to look. It ain't had nothing to do with that. Didn't have nothing to do with the South's refusal to industrialize. You're gonna have to go a little further. Definitely had nothing to do with that. Nothing to do with that. I don't know, Kerry. You're gonna have to dig it out and find it. It very well may have been. It very well may have been. It very well may have been. You know what I'm saying? Let's look it up. When you know real history, you can't be deceived. You're not gonna fall for the banana in the tailpipe that these people be shooting. These people be shooting banana in the tailpipes. You know what I'm saying? It makes it wiser. It gives you the ability to teach your children. Napoleon once had the statement of history is told by the victors. If I conquer and I win, then I can write history any way that I want to. That's why most of us don't know, regardless of the fact that they were sinners, because they were sinners at that time. That, you know what I'm saying? Like the real in-depth dealings that most of Europe before the Renaissance was ruled by your ancestors, people who look just like you, Israelites, all the way through. But see, it's nothing proud to say Israelites rule Europe because these niggas were Catholics and pagan sun worshipers and Kemetic mystery school worshipers, just like people are now. It's just a fact of knowing real history. And it's funny to me because they taught it to us in school when they told us about the Renaissance. They told us it was a whitewash. At least my history teacher did. It wasn't in the text. He went further to explain that. He went further to explain that. He did that on his own. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, they whitewashed. That's what Renaissance meant. They whitewashed history. So everything that you see is painted as Caucasian is not Caucasian. Those were black people. And this was a white man. You know what I'm saying? But he just took the time to do that, which of course sparked me and some of my peers at that time to go find out more of that on our own, which we were able to validate of what he said. You know what I'm saying? That this was correct. I can remember being in prison. I mentioned y'all the other day and seeing that Europe was named after a black woman. You know what I'm saying? The average person doesn't even know this, but it's not the point of them being black. It's the point of if they're being deceitful in areas of historical fact and record, then what else are they being deceitful about? And when you're able to do this, then you're able to train your children to see through lies. That if you can teach them to see through the lies of history, then you can teach them to see through the eyes of the idolatrous worship that is being so subtly impressed upon them. That therefore that they can have eyes to not be like what Yahuwah just said in Isaiah 44 and not have eyes to see and a heart to know and lack understanding. But they would be able to know that I would not worship the same creation that I just made my lamb chops and loaf of bread on. You know what I'm saying? It's really that simple. Your child won't be around here talking about no chakra stones, man. He won't be doing none of that. And that's our job as men to do that. To take the time to be a student in certain disciplines and to master them, that you may teach that to your wife and kids. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm trying to tell you, these women will tell you that women like a man who can teach them something. And truth be told, your woman shouldn't even have to ask you to teach her nothing. How you a leader and you the man and your wife got to ask you to instruct her? You ought to be ashamed. You know what I'm talking about? Boy, Yasharal ain't never had to come to Yahuwah and say, please teach me. Baby, I just need you to teach me something. That was his desire to do, to instruct his wife. That's what any real man would do, have a desire to teach his wife. You got to realize something, man, when you're teaching, you're learning at the same time. At the same time. But that's just having a desire to learn. Got to have a desire to learn. You have a desire to learn that uplifts your whole household. See, the community as a whole cannot be uplifted until you uplift the household that you reside in. So you have to uplift your woman. You have to uplift your children. And you have to uplift them by taking the time to learn things that you may teach them. You know what I'm saying? Your woman shouldn't be learning more than you. When I say your woman shouldn't be learning more than you, she shouldn't be having the desire to learn new things more than you have a desire to learn new things. Not that she shouldn't be learning. Let that be known. You know what I'm saying? She shouldn't have a stronger desire to learn than you do. Because at that point, how are you going to properly lead her and guide her and moderate her and your children, and you don't have the desire to put anything in your brain to be able to teach them? How could you lead them? How could you guide them? How could she respect you after that? It's going to be very difficult for her to do so. You know what I'm saying? You have to think about all that type of stuff. But I'm rambling now. I'm going on too long because it's 9 o'clock. We'll be at university, y'all willing, on this Shabbat, so. Yeah, wait, consider, stay strong. Blessings out the house of Yahuwah, name of Yahushua. Everybody make sure you keep your feet steadily, firmly, compacted and rooted on the rock of salvation, which is Yahushua HaMashiach. Take heed to his words, that when the storms come and the wind blows, that your house won't fall because it's built on a rock. Yahuwah willing. Till the next time. Good degree. She gonna participate? Yes, I would.